starting point then. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Thank you for joining us today for the Innovation Training 2022 information session. My name is Paige Cadigan, and as I said earlier, I work at the Center for Public Impact, where I lead our innovation training opportunity partnership programs with Bloomberg Philanthropies and the Bloomberg Center for Public Innovation. And today, my colleague, Mariah Kenny-Geyer, and I will be kind of walking you through an overview of the innovation training program, what the goals of it are, what it'll look like for participating cities, and then also give you a bit more detail around the application process. And then obviously would love to take questions and answers. So in terms of timing, we'll plan to spend about 15 to 20 minutes talking and giving you that overview. And then we'll really pass the mic to all of you for questions that you might have. So throughout today's session, if you have questions as we're talking, please feel free to use them in the Zoom chat, and we'll have someone from our team either moderating and providing responses in chat, or we'll use them to seed the Q&A session after the short presentation. Before we dive into a bit more detail on the program itself, I want to share a bit of introduction to the organizations that are offering this training opportunity for the 2022 year. So we are excited to announce that this next year's innovation training will be presented by the newly launched Bloomberg Center for Public Innovation at Johns Hopkins University, which was officially announced last month. This new center is led by Amanda Daplos, the former Chief Innovation Officer of Los Angeles, and was established to serve as a hub and resource center for government innovation with kind of three primary focus areas. So first, training city leaders and staff to develop, test, and scale new solutions to pressing challenges. Second, conducting research on the impact of creative problem solving by local governments. And then also engaging the next generation of public sector innovators through providing student internships in City Hall. This innovation training will be part of that kind of first suite of programming around training city leaders and staff. The innovation training will continue to be supported by Bloomberg Philanthropies, which provided a $43 million commitment to launch the Bloomberg Center for Public Innovation at Johns Hopkins to support programs exactly like this. And we are all immensely grateful for the continued partnership and support of the team at Bloomberg Philanthropies, who's been a pioneer in supporting and championing innovation in the public sector for the last decade now. And then the innovation training will be delivered in partnership with our team at the Center for Public Impact, where we work alongside governments and their partners to reimagine government so that it works better for everyone. We've been honored to serve as the implementation partner for programs like this one with Bloomberg Philanthropies over the last 4 years now, and look forward to working alongside the incredible set of partners that I just introduced you to bring this program to life over the next year. So with that introduction to who is behind this program, I'm going to pass it to my colleague Mariah to walk you through some of the core elements of what the innovation training is before we then turn it over to you all for a Q&A. And as I said earlier, as Mariah gives you an overview of the program, please do use the chat function to ask questions so that we can make the most of our time together and answer as many questions as we can. So thank you again for being here, and Mariah, over to you.
Thank you so much, Paige. Can I get a quick thumbs up if you can hear me? Great, thanks. So as Paige mentioned, my name is Mariah Kenny-Geyer, and I work alongside Paige to deliver these programs to cities across the world. So really excited to be with you all today and to have so many international faces on the line here. So what is innovation training? The training is a year-long, no-cost program that helps cities learn how to adopt design-based innovation techniques that engage residents in testing, adapting, and scaling creative ideas that can have lasting impact. I often like to describe innovation training with three interrelated goals. So first, through this training, cities learn a new set of skills in curriculum deeply grounded in human-centered design and community collaboration. Second, cities will apply those skills to a challenge facing their community. So they should walk away with real solutions to a real problem. And third, cities should begin to understand how they can scale these ways of working to build a culture of innovation across City Hall. So when you take those three goals together, it's really a program centered around learning and application. Let's take a look at what this looks like in practice. During innovation training, selected cities will learn an innovation approach to understanding problems, generating ideas, and delivering new solutions, all for and with your residents and community. The graphic you can see here on the slide is the innovation journey that cities partake in, or what we like to call the path to innovation. And as you can see, cities spend a lot of time deeply understanding that challenge by going out into the community and leading in-depth research with those closest to the problem. Once the city gains a better understanding of those root causes and the lived experience of the challenge, they work hand in hand with their community members to generate new solutions and test them at their infancy before moving along to developing those solutions at higher fidelity. Cities can expect to walk away from this program with 6 to 8 ideas developed alongside their community that they'd be excited to move forward over the coming years, and hopefully a couple ideas that are near ready to pilot after the program ends. Next slide. So what support will you actually get to bring that experience to life? Each city will be assigned a designated expert design coach who will lead near weekly one-on-one virtual workshops that help you apply the methodology to the problem in your community. These will be all virtual with the potential for one site visit pending COVID-19 safety regulations, but generally you can expect this experience to be largely virtual in terms of learning and connecting with your coach. Cities will also get access to a state-of-the-art innovation curriculum that was developed specifically for the public sector, as we know a lot of innovation materials that exist out there already are really targeted for that private sector. We wanted to make sure this was a city-specific experience. Alongside that innovation curriculum, you will also receive additional courses in community engagement, storytelling, and other elements of building a culture of innovation. And finally, as we found it to be so important in the last year to be connected to cities across the world and share learnings, cities in this program will have access to a network of support. We expect to select about 14 cities for this program, so we want to be really intentional about connecting those cities for virtual cross-city collaboration opportunities, shared learning, and building that network of community innovators. Also, once a city is selected into the program, they will belong to a larger network of 45 different cities with Bloomberg Center for Public Innovation and Bloomberg Philanthropies that have already undergone this training. And so you'll really start to build those relationships of cities you can call in the future to collaborate or ask questions or simply workshop problems together. Next slide. So as I've mentioned, this training is really designed to help you apply the path to innovation model to a challenge in your community. Once you've been equipped with the curriculum, your coach, and your network of support, you will cultivate a deep understanding of your problem by engaging those impacted most. You'll develop a portfolio of ideas, about 6 to 8 ideas that you're excited to move forward with at the end of the program. You will complete at least 2 rounds of prototype testing with your residents so that you're getting feedback on your ideas early and often before you've kind of fully developed them into the implemented form. You will communicate a commitment to implement 1 or more of those ideas. And finally, you'll declare an intention to apply this process to another problem facing the city, really helping you think about how you can scale the methodology throughout departments across City Hall. Altogether, these 5 items listed here comprise our program goals and criteria of success for a city participating in the training. Next slide. So what does really strong participation look like? A former participating cities of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, came into the program with the goal to reimagine their transit system to drastically cut travel times and public costs. During the program itself, they worked hand in hand with their community to develop a brand new idea of on-demand transit options as an extension of their service offerings for City Hall or for public transportation. And they've actually since implemented that idea and continue to run it weekly to this date. And I've seen a lot of success as a linchpin transportation option to really extend their services. We found that Sioux Falls is a particularly successful city because of the 4 criteria listed here on the slide. So first, they had really strong leadership buy-in. Their mayor was committed not only to implementing ideas that were developed within the program, but also to identifying opportunities to scale this way of working to other departments in City Hall. I think as we all know here on the line, cultures of innovation and culture more broadly must be supported by the bottom up and the top down. Second, team recruitment. Innovation training requires cities to pull together a team of 10 to 12 employees who will lead this work for the full duration of the program throughout 2022. In Sioux Falls, their senior leadership was really thoughtful about recruiting diverse team members across various departments who all brought a passion for innovation within the city. So when you think of your own cities, who are those creative, out-of-the-box thinkers that are passionate about working with the community to drive new solutions? Those are the people who are often most successful on this core team for the program. Commitment to transferability. With that strong leadership support and a really active core team, each of those members were committed to bringing this approach back to their departments for other projects throughout City Hall. I think we often see that a program like this can plant seeds for innovation to blossom all throughout City Hall and be a really powerful catalytic effort. And finally, strong media coverage. The Sioux Falls team was intentional about how they shared this work, both internally with their colleagues, but also externally with local media and the community, to be really open to storytelling and sharing this way of working to amplify the impact itself. Next slide. So, turning to all of you on the line here today, what type of city makes a really great fit for this type of training? After delivering this program over the last few years into 45 different cities, we found that cities will benefit most from a program like this if they demonstrate the following 3 criteria. So first, cities either currently have or plan to add dedicated staff for innovation. While we've of course seen cities be successful without dedicated staff, we find that having that point person can be really helpful for creating a clear pathway to drive this work forward after the program ends and really invest in scaling innovation across City Hall. Second, cities are best positioned for this project if they have a persistent problem that directly impacts the lives of their community and of their residents. You know, as I've already mentioned, you have to apply for this program with a problem in mind that you want to apply the innovation methodology to. And in the past, we've seen cities tackle challenges from food insecurity to littering to public transportation to affordable housing and so many more. And so I'd really ask for you all to think about what is that challenge that's high priority, cross-departmental, and is primed to work with your community on. And finally, cities are best positioned for this training if they are committed to building a culture of innovation across City Hall. As I mentioned, we want these types of training to be catalytic in their efforts to really scale the commitment to innovation and continue to plant the seeds across City Hall employees throughout the full city. All right, for this last slide, I'm going to get a bit more tactical to quickly review the program eligibility criteria and your application next steps. On the left-hand side here, you can see that eligibility, which includes cities must have a team of 10 to 12 staff members who can commit on average 5 hours per week for the full duration of the program, which is really February through December of 2022. I clarify that when you apply, you don't actually need to have this team of 10 to 12 staff members identified at the time of application, but rather this is a capacity gut check for your city to ensure that you truly have the capacity to invest the staff resources and get the most out of a program like this. We also ask that cities have a chief innovation officer or an equivalent role that can really lead the team throughout the program and then be that point person to advance progress on innovation after the program ends. We also find that cities are most successful when they have a mayor that has at least 50% left on their term. And the goal here is really to ensure that you wouldn't have a mayoral turnover during the program itself during the year of 2022. So this can help ensure that long-term support and accountability as well. And finally, all of the materials in this program are developed in English. And so we ask that core teams must have a professional proficiency in English to participate in the program, even if you're coming from a non-English speaking city and country. Now, as always, please feel free to reach out to our team at the Center for Public Impact if you have any questions about the eligibility or special exceptions you'd like us to consider. We can always work one-on-one with you to understand if your city might still be a really great fit for a program like this, despite not meeting one of the eligibility criteria above. I believe my colleague Soumya just put our email address in the chat, so please do reach out if you have any questions on that front. And then turning to the application next steps, we are asking that all cities please submit your application no later than 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, November 19th. That's about 2.5 weeks from now. We will be reviewing those applications on a rolling basis. So if you can get it in earlier, we always really appreciate that, but we will read any applications that are submitted until that deadline on November 19th. The application itself will ask you to complete a number of questions related to your city eligibility to really understand if you kind of meet those criteria, and then an additional few in-depth questions about your hunger for innovation and that problem that you'd like to tackle in the program. Alongside the questions, we also ask you to submit a job description for that Chief Innovation Officer role or the equivalent position that you're applying with, and then a letter of support from your mayor. And then finally, participation will launch in early 2022 with onboarding happening in January and the official kickoff in February. And we expect it to run all the way through December 2022. All right, that was a fair amount of information. So I now want to turn the mic over to all of you with whatever questions you might